This video is going to talk about weather. We're just going to get into a few of these PowerPoint slides. What is weather? We mentioned it the other day. Weather is the current state of the atmosphere. It's what is happening right now. There are some main points that we want to remember as we learn about weather. One of them is that the sun warms the Earth's surface and therefore all the air above the surface. And we might remember that from astronomy. We can also talk about that the Earth is warmed mostly at the equator and least at the poles. And we talked about that when we did astronomy. The air above land is warmed more quickly than air above water. So if you are on land, the air will be warmed at a much faster rate than if you were in the water. And warm air expands and rises, creating an area of low pressure. Cold air is dense, so it's much heavier, it's going to sink, and it creates an area of high pressure. And those will be important as we start to talk about high and low pressures that go through and fronts. Some factors that go along with the weather, again, it's the state of the atmosphere at a specific time and place, and the average motion of the molecules. If we have an increase in temperature, then there's going to be an increase in the movement of the molecules, and it's going to feel hot out. And when we have a decrease in temperature, then we're going to have a decrease in the movement of the molecules. They'll move at a slower rate, and that's going to feel cold to us. And that's what temperature equals. When we look at air pressure, if we have warm air, it's going to expand or be rising, and it leaves behind what we call a low pressure, so the L will stand for low. If we have cold air, it's going to be sinking, and it's going to leave an area of high pressure. And that's something, again, that we'll get into a little bit more over the next few weeks as we discuss weather. And if you think of just the warm air in your own house, it's going to always rise, and the cold air is going to sink. Okay, wind. This is a picture of some trees that are blowing in the wind. Wind is the uneven heating of the Earth's surface. It causes changes, some areas to be warmer than others. And as we know, warm always follows cold to share its warmth. So that could be something that can help you remember that after the cold has gone through, the warm will come in, and it's going to follow the cold to share the warmth. When this happens in the atmosphere, then wind is going to happen. What causes wind? Well, wind is a horizontal movement of air. So it's not a vertical movement, it's the horizontal movement of air, and it goes from an area of high pressure to an area of low pressure. It is this difference in pressure that makes the air move, and then we get the wind. So when we have the differences in the pressure, that causes the wind to move. Winds are measured by direction and speed. And you can see that as we're going to go to a weather map eventually and learn about the symbols on a weather map. The anemometer, that is the name for the tool that is used to measure wind. And you might have heard of people say, oh, the wind chill. That is when we have an increased cooling that the wind causes. Now, there are local winds that we're going to talk about, and in this case, the land cools and heats faster than the ocean. The water holds the heat longer than the land, and it takes longer to heat or cool. You can see there's a picture of the sea breeze, the rising warm air, and then, I don't know if you could see that, and then we have the descending cold air once it gets over the ocean. During the day, the land gets hotter, faster than water, and the heated air rises, leaving behind an area of low pressure. Wind from the cooler sea blows in to take the place of that warmer air, and this can even happen during the day. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was land breezes. So at night, the land cools off faster than the sea. The cool air sinks, creating an area of high pressure. The wind is going to blow from the land to the sea. And so now you see in this picture, we have wind blowing from land to the sea. And these are what we call the land breezes.